It's all about having the key insights, following the leaders of the crypto industry and background stories on blockchain technology trends to keep you one step ahead. Monty Metzger, CEO of LCX.com, keeps you up to speed with what's moving global crypto markets and gives you the latest insights about LCX's platform and ecosystem. This is LCX Insights Live.
Welcome to LCX Insights Live. This is another exciting episode I want to share with you. And in these live video shows, I'm engaging with the world's top blockchain projects, as we do today, with other entrepreneurs, with investors, with pioneers in crypto and blockchain, in honest conversations meant to challenge traditional ways of thinking. My name is Monty Metzger, and I'm founder and CEO at LCX. LCX is a regulated fintech company that focuses on digital asset trading, compliant token offerings, and tokenization. LCX received 8 blockchain-related approvals by the Liechtenstein regulator. That's more than any other company in the country. And Liechtenstein is known to be the kind of extension of the crypto valley next to Switzerland and Austria in the middle of Europe. And Liechtenstein has received a AAA rating by Standard & Poor's. So it's the highest rating a country can get, high reputation. And that's what we fight for also, to create a platform which has high reputation, high trust, and a great user experience. Liechtenstein has introduced the most forward-thinking legal framework for cryptocurrencies and blockchain companies, providing legal clarity and security for our users and for the platform as a whole. But today, we want to talk about Avalanche and building the Internet of Finance to empower people. Today's very special guest is the Vice President of Business Development at Avalanche. So please welcome John Nahas. Where are you? Here you are. So today's very special
Marty,
guest
how's everybody
is the
doing?
Vice
Thanks for
President
having
of
me.
Business Development at Avalanche. So please welcome John Nahas. Where are you?
Double here somehow.
Today's
Hey Marty, how's everybody doing? Thanks for having me.
Business Development at Avalanche.
John, do you have the stream open somehow?
Nahas, where are you?
Double here somehow. Window
Thanks for having me.
Business Development at
Okay, now he dropped out. That was the wrong window.
but he will come back. So I have prepared a couple of exciting questions to John. I think let's give him a couple of minutes until he's back. There he is. And let's get him back. John, here you are again.
Are we okay right now? Apologies. Not sure what was happening. There was like a
okay, yeah. There was probably the YouTube link or something open as well. But now we have you here in the stream. So John, welcome. Tell us, first of all, who are you and what do you do at Avalanche?
Well, Marty, thanks for having me. Really looking forward to this chat and being with you for LCX Insights. So I'm John Nahas. I'm Vice President of Business Development at Avalanche. Avalanche is the firm that supports the Avalanche blockchain. Avalanche, of course, is a new layer 1. And I'm sure we're going to get into that all in a little bit here.
Excellent. So good to have you on the show. And you already said a little bit about Avalanche, but let's start again with a short introduction. What is Avalanche? What's the difference between other layer 1 chains? And what is Avalanche, the company?
Absolutely. So we'll start with Avalanche, where I work and where I'm vice president. Avalanche is the firm that behind the Avalanche blockchain spun it out. Avalanche is now a layer 1 that is independent. It's a public utility. Avalanche is a licensed service provider to the Avalanche Foundation, providing support to grow the ecosystem across Avalanche, whether it's in DeFi, NFTs, enterprise, institutional. We are the firm that supports the growth and the building on the network with partnerships and with whatever it may be. Avalanche itself is a new layer 1. It spun out of Cornell University, where our founder, Evan Gunsweer, is a notable computer science and distributed systems professor. Evan's been in this space since the beginning of cryptocurrencies, a notable author, lecturer, consultant, an advisor to crypto projects, government, central banks, Fortune 500 companies, and everything in between. The real breakthrough that Emin and his students at Cornell had was the creation of the Avalanche consensus. So the Avalanche consensus is the third ever novel consensus protocol. In the history of consensus, there was classical since the 70s. There was Nakamoto, of course, with the advent of Bitcoin, which introduced a distributed ledger, trustless. Avalanche is only the third ever novel consensus, which we believe solves the blockchain trilemma. We are truly decentralized with over 1,500 validators running the network, which is a proof of stake network. A little over a year and a quarter since going live. We have sub-second finality, so we measure Avalanche as the fastest blockchain in terms of time to finality. That's when a transaction hits the chain. It is confirmed in less than a second. We are low cost relative to other smart contract platforms, and we are also environmentally friendly. So a recent study by the Cryptocarbons Ratings Institute, the team out of MIT and Technical Institute of Munich, did a report, compared us to other proof of stake chains, as well as proof of work. Avalanche in its entirety utilizes the equivalent of 46 US households worth of carbon. So sustainability is something that's important. The network is optimized to be efficient as well as fast and cheap. So the consensus runs our primary network. Our primary network is multi-chain. It's a 3-chain model. We have our X chain. That's our exchange chain. That's where our token, the AVAX token, lies. That's a UTXO-based model. Limited business logic, send, receive, mint, and burn assets on the X chain. The P chain is our platform chain. That is where delegation and validation occurs, kind of the administration of the chain. And then finally, the C chain is our smart contracts chain. That is an instance of the Ethereum virtual machine, runs on Solidity. Anything that you can do on Ethereum or any EVM chain, you can deploy on Avalanche as well for lower costs, faster finality. Final point on our P chain, if you're a validator and run a node, you have the ability to deploy what we call subnets. That's a new thing that we recently rolled out. Subnets are anybody's ability, if they're a validator, to launch a permissionless or public chain or a permissioned and private chain. So think of it as app-specific chains. With the rise of GameFi or enterprise use cases, most people need specific chains that they can tailor to their specific use case, right? We've come, I think, a previous era where there's single monolithic chains that kind of one size fits all. Avalanche subnets are really an opportunity for whoever is building to build the application that they want on a tailored chain that can fit their needs. The only requirement is that you run a node. So to validate a subnet, you need to validate the main chain.
Well, that's a lot of things to break down. I think you already summarized the key points, but the community and everybody wants to know all the details. But before we go into the platform and the product itself, tell us about Avalabs. How did it start? And how did Avalanche start, and what was the time frame from like idea to first launch and everything? Tell us the story.
So Emin, our founder, and his 2 PhD students. So Ted Yin is our chief protocol architect. Ted was a PhD student at Cornell, and was the co-author actually of Hot Stuff. That's the protocol that Facebook was intending to use for their Libra or DM project, as well as Kevin Seknicki, our COO previously at JPL, had been working in this space, and they came across a paper now several years ago from an anonymous person called Team Rocket that really introduced a new model of consensus. So they worked around that, and from that built Avalanche. It's been nearly 4 or 5 years now. And that really was the formation of the first white paper for Avalanche consensus. From that, Avalabs was created, spun out of Cornell University. And the team was primarily based in New York, built with engineers building the platform, building Avalanche. I joined the team in September of 2020. At the time, there was like 36 people on the team. The business team was 2 people. And now Avalabs, based out of New York. We have offices in Williamsburg, but the team is distributed both across the US and globally. Right now I'm in Los Angeles. And now we're about 160 people plus and growing rather rapidly. So the vision of Avalabs was, to create this new chain. Now it is, of course, housed at a foundation. It's nonprofit. It's a public utility. But Avalabs' purpose is twofold. First and foremost, the growth of the Avalanche ecosystem, supporting the growth of the Avalanche ecosystem. But secondly, of course, is to create products to benefit the community and users of the Avalanche ecosystem, such as the Avalanche Bridge. We have a forthcoming wallet that we're developing. So infrastructure tooling products, and as well as working with outside partners like enterprises, institutions to build solutions or products to be used on Avalanche as well.
Okay. So you said you joined in December 2020? September. Okay. So why did you join at Avalanche, and like what was the most exciting thing at start? And is it still the same or has it changed?
So in a previous life, for most people under the age of 25, we've all come into blockchain or crypto from different backgrounds and fields, which is really exciting. I think that's probably the biggest benefit of this industry is that we bring so many different backgrounds and so many different expertise to this new and growing industry. So I previously was in new media, then I was in international trade finance. I previous to Avalanche was founding team at a firm called Token Vault, and we built a money market token for Franklin Templeton, a major asset manager in the U.S. With a lot of several hundreds of billions of dollars under management. Left that after it was acquired and was looking for something new. So I was talking to a custodian, an exchange, other L1s, really looking to get into the crypto space specifically full-time. Previously, I was more focused on fintech and blockchain, but really saw kind of the growth of this new L1 space as really being the blockchain, third generation of blockchains. Was put in touch with the team at Avalanche on a Wednesday, spoke to someone on a Thursday, spoke to someone else on a Friday, and then I spent the following weekend really reading the white paper and reading all of the literature that had been put out there, but also going back and watching YouTube videos of Goon, our founder, Emin, talking about Avalanche, but also pre-Avalanche, right? So Emin was one of the founders of Karma in 2002, which was the first peer-to-peer eCash system 6 years before Bitcoin. So I noticed that he was early in the Bitcoin community, early in the Ethereum community, and had not done one of his own projects. Some of his students at Cornell went on to create their own layer ones, or he advised other layer ones. He didn't have his own project. So it dawned on me that there must be something special here, that after 15, 16 years in this space, for him to really go all in on this new project. And then looking at the team, of course, John Wu, who's our president, and I report to, having come from Kingdom Capital, Tiger Management, traditional finance. It was a great team of academics, engineers, business people that really brought a great background to the firm that I believe really could bring about a positive change and impact into the space. So when I was given the opportunity to join, I took it. It's been about a year and a half almost. A year and a half in crypto is like 5 or 10 years probably.
Yeah.
What is it? A day is like a week's like a month is like a year. So much has happened, but from when Avalanche went live, mainnet went live, I believe September 21st or 20th of 2020. It's been an amazing ride. The team has grown. Use cases have grown. We've really focused on multiple verticals, I think, to grow the ecosystem, starting with DeFi, where we've had tremendous success. And
tell me about the growth and the like kind of status quo. How many validators do you have? How big is the layer one network as a whole? What are the key KPIs you're tracking?
Of course. So if you want to look at a metric that's not really relevant depending on the day, market cap, we started off in the mid hundreds and now we're probably top 10, top 12 by market cap token in terms of AVAX on any given day. But more importantly than all of that, our daily active users and monthly active users and active wallet accounts since last August, when we really started to push, right? So the team took a step back and said, what is it going to take to drive adoption? And I think we differ from a lot of others. People in this space usually tend to support projects first. We like to support users. So what we did is we created something called the Rush program to support DeFi uses and liquidity mining and things of that nature. And what we did is we partnered with some of the top blue chip Ethereum projects to come launch on Avalanche, whether it be Aave, Sushi, Curve, etc. Once we did that, Avalanche had helped create the Avalanche bridge, which really made it easy for people to bring their assets from Ethereum to Avalanche, use those assets in a faster, cheaper way. So that really spurred the growth. That really got the uses starting. And what we did is, we support the users, right? So if you come and use protocols on Avalanche, you will be supported. So we support the users. We want to grow the users on the network. And we did so through incentives through the Rush program. And we've seen daily active use cases now be anywhere from 80 to 100, 510% of Ethereum's daily transaction count. So we're rivaling the daily transactions there on Ethereum, especially with we have one subnet live right now, DeFi Kingdoms. It's a project that came over to Avalanche, launched the subnet. They're doing about 250,000, give or take, in transactions a day. So we're around 1 million transactions a day. Active wallets, active users are just continuing to grow, right? All metrics across all fundamental KPIs are up and to the right. So it's been very successful on that front. So in the vein of first supporting our DeFi initiative in August, we recently announced 2 new initiatives, one being the Multiverse campaign. So it's about 290 million from the Avalanche Foundation to support the growth of subnets. So I know I've mentioned this previously, but subnets, of course, are app-specific chains, whether it be GameFi or institutional or enterprise or even sort of specific DeFi applications. The goal being, if you build on Avalanche and you build a good product, we will support you by incentivizing users to try it. And ultimately, users are the deciding factor of what's successful and what's not in the ecosystem.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like a roller coaster ride. And when I look at the chart, it's also interesting what you said. The token itself often represents kind of the journey of the company as well. So I just marked it down. So there's the moment here when John entered. This was the September around, I looked up $3 to $5 probably. Then it goes up and down. But then there's something happened in August 2020.
That's the Rush. That's when we launched the Rush campaign.
That's when you launched, okay. And then on this side here, like we are now up 2022 around $50. It's dropped a little bit, but there seems to be a lot of potential still. And I think the layer 1, you're now currently CoinGecko at 14 worldwide. Really tremendous journey and impact. So there's still lots of room, but it shows how strong your community is and how they believe in the system itself.
I mean, look, the token itself goes up, it goes down, the market affects it. We're not concerned with that. We have no impact on that. Our goal and our focus at Avalanche is not the token. The token serves as a utility to run the network. That's its sole purpose. Whatever people attribute to that is kind of up to them. For us, the things that really matter are uses, right? Our use cases are daily active users, monthly active users, the number of transactions, the number of applications, the number of things that are really proliferating across the network.
I mean, that's a key part of it, really getting traction now in the layer 1 model. But now we talked about it so often, but we have not explained it yet. So that's why the question to you is, what is AVAX? What is the token about? What can you do with it within the network?
Of course. So AVAX, like many tokens that are based on a layer 1 blockchain, are used to pay fees and to secure the network. So what you can do with it, of course, is you can stake it. So Avalanche is a proof of stake network. You can stake it to earn a yield by securing the network, by either setting up your own node, which requires 2,000 AVAX to be a validator, or delegating it to existing validators. Either way, as a proof of stake chain, the Avalanche token represents an ability to secure the network. Secondly, it's able to pay for fees on the network. So just like you would use ETH to pay for fees on Ethereum, you'd use AVAX to pay for fees or gas fees on the Avalanche network.
Okay, so what are the plans now to scale the network even further? It's the battle of the layer 1s at the moment. What's your strategy from business development side? How will you conquer the blockchain world?
First and foremost, I think taking a step back, I think I'd like to introduce a counter narrative here. I think a lot of people in this space, and particularly in the blockchain space, who have been here for a few years or several years, still see the space as being confined to what currently exists. So what I'm trying to get to is certain people still like to kind of fight or battle or try and win market share from a limited pie, from a currently existing pie. That to me shows how early we are in this journey still. I like to say that we're at the end of the beginning, because we're just starting to get into mass adoption or retail awareness. I'm often reminded of them with friends or family or everybody else how early we are, because when I start talking about anything that I do at work, their eyes glaze over and they're completely lost. So what I'm trying to get to is that when we talk about scaling, we're talking about scaling with the current situation that exists, with the current use cases that exist. For this industry and this technology to really go mainstream, there should be plenty of opportunities for every single layer one to have more than enough transactions and opportunities to have their own niche or their own success, for the ones that have solid technology that allow for the growth of this industry. So ultimately, people are fighting or debating or competing for the existing pie when the potential pie is infinitely larger. Now, currently, I think we can handle whatever we're doing, as can many of the other chains. But as this industry grows, as the use cases grow, as the number of entrants come in, whether it's in DeFi or NFTs or through enterprise and institutional use cases, we will need to scale. We will need to scale. Every other layer one will need to scale, or they just won't be able to keep up. So our opportunity here and our goal, something that was introduced in the Avalanche white paper. So it's not something that we've come up with recently, and something that is a new way to kind of try and scale a network. This was announced before the network even went live, was subnets, which I've mentioned. So the network's been live now almost a year and a half. Recently, we announced the launch of subnets, with one subnet currently live, like I said, DeFi Kingdoms, and a slate of many more and dozens coming over the course of the next year. So subnets are our scaling solution. Subnets are app-specific chains, whether permissioned or permissionless. So if you're an enterprise and you want to launch your own chain, you can do so on a subnet, whether it be permissioned or permissionless. Where that differs than others is that there's interoperability with the main chain. So where we've seen kind of enterprise blockchains not succeed is because ultimately enterprise blockchains don't bring the utility, functionality, community of the broader ecosystem. They live in a vacuum. You see some chains right now that are very crypto native, crypto specific, DeFi only or NFTs only or whatever. And you see some chains that are very focused on enterprise as well. But as we know, enterprises are slow to adapt. They're usually forced to innovate. So that doesn't really move. I think Avalanche has the benefit of having a foot in both worlds. We take the innovation kind of that's happening in DeFi and the crypto native ecosystem that we have, and that's a magnet to really drive this side and the enterprise over. And hopefully we meet somewhere closer to the innovation side, closer to the crypto native side. But what subnets allow is for people to do that. If you're an enterprise, you can launch a subnet and pull USDC from the C chain over to use that as a payment tool. You can rope in NFTs. If you're a game, right, you can launch your app specific chain, because if you're a game developer and you're launching your own chain, right, or your game, what are you good at? You are good at launching a game. You are not a blockchain engineer. You are not a distributed systems professional. You are a game developer who knows UI, UX, and how to build the best game. I think we've seen this recently with some games that have tried to launch their own chains. There's been, unfortunately, issues. When those issues arise, it hurts the entire industry. Our solution here to scale is subnets, because it allows a game developer to say, or an enterprise to say, these are the parameters we need. If I'm an enterprise, I might be able to say I need KYC or AML restrictions to use the chain or not. If I'm a game developer, you might need to have X amount of token. You build kind of the parameters around it, and the chains, the subnets can do it. So we have something coming up that's going to be like a one-click EVM, launch your own EVM, select your own gas token. So that's another thing with subnets.
Okay.
All
Okay.
you
So
need
you
is
do LCX token as a gas token on your subnet.
all you need is the AVAX to run the node, to be a validator, but then you can select your own validator count. You can select your own gas kind of or fee structure. You can select your own fee token and use that to run your own network the way that would best suit your application or your use case. So that's the way we really see it, kind of like an internet of blockchain.
Okay. And now, like when you look at the overall ecosystem, what's the killer app at the moment? What's the biggest dApp or product or Avalanche use case at the moment?
It's hard for me to pick one. I really can't. I think within the Avalanche ecosystem, we have amazing innovation happening across the board. I think what we're seeing, particularly in DeFi, though, is really exciting. You know, as I mentioned, we've had we had native Ethereum blue chip teams develop port over, but we've had Ethereum teams develop new products that they've launched on Avalanche first, like Alpha Labs with AlphaX.
Yeah.
But really, what's exciting, I think, is the opportunity for a lot of new developers, such as there's Yeti Finance and Platypus and a bunch of native Avalanche ecosystem DeFi projects that otherwise I don't think would have existed on other chains, because they were built for Avalanche because of the speed, the time to finality, and the things that allow people to really finally launch projects that they've kind of thought about for some time, but haven't had the ability to launch because of other platforms' inability to execute or to allow them to execute. So, I mean, whether it's DeFi, that's exciting. I think there's a lot happening on the enterprise front. Lemonade, an insurtech provider, a publicly traded company, is working with us and Chainlink to do parametric insurance. So that's actually going to be providing insurance to people in the world who otherwise don't have access to insurance by automating insurance processes, paying out automatically those that would have a smaller premium or a smaller policy. So what really excites me is not what currently exists, to be honest. I mean, it does, of course, but it's kind of the opportunities that are going to be arising, the opportunities that are going to come down the line that Avalanche as a base layer or subnets as a scaling solution or as an app specific chain are really going to allow builders to go to the next level, right? So if you see DeFi now, we've kind of copied a lot of the things that exist in TradFi, but removed the middleman. But there are some innovative new projects and protocols that are coming out that are doing very new, novel things. That's exciting. I think we're still early. And I think the really exciting stuff is the stuff that we haven't seen yet, that we don't think about, right? That this technology.
That's right, yeah. If you currently look at like the top dApps on Avalanche, there's a list or ranking with Trader Joe, Krabada, RubyMine, Pangolin Exchange, and Pizza Game. Like a couple of them seem to have like more traction than others. But how do you engage as Avalanche with like new projects? Do you help them, or like and the big ones, are you still in contact, or like how's the relationship between Avalanche and these projects launching on Avalanche?
Absolutely. So, you know, Avalanche is a permissionless layer one. So anybody can deploy a dApp anytime they want.
Yeah.
You know, without any input, support, or comment from us. But we often do have teams that come to us, or we find great teams and we want to support them. So the way we do so is through a number of ways. As the business development team, we might, you know, connect them to other factions within Avalanche to support them. If they, you know, these guys might be great engineers but need some marketing help. So we might say, okay, here's a great way to go market your product. So we'll hold their hand, we'll support them as they build their project and their protocol. So whether it's marketing support or developer support, you know, you might have the best developers building the best protocol, but nobody knows the platform better than Avalanche. So there's no one really better, or the team at Avalanche is well suited to give support or provide feedback to builders, because we know the platform best and we can help them by giving them advice or whatever it may be. But ultimately, it's on them to really build their product. We're just here to tell them the best ways it could execute on Avalanche. And then in terms of the final ways, of course, financial support. So we take an approach that we like to invest in teams. So recently, the Avalanche Foundation announced Blizzard. Blizzard is an ecosystem fund with over $200 million. primarily to support the growth of the Avalanche ecosystem. So that's pre-seed, seed, Series A, in whether it be tokens or equity, but in teams building on Avalanche and building products on Avalanche across DeFi, GameFi, infrastructure, products, whatever it may be. So, consider the Avalabs team the cheerleaders of Avalanche, but also kind of the ambassadors to go out and talk to developers and builders and teams and really support them in their journey, because ultimately it's their product, it's their job to support it, but we're here to help in any way we can.
Okay. And then I recently saw that you are engaged in Formula E.
Mm-hmm.
And so with my former venture capital fund, we had been hosting a startup competition at Formula E worldwide. And so we had been a partner there. So I know the races very well. It's super exciting, thrilling. Have you been on the ground? And why did you choose to work with Formula E, and what are you doing there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been to, I was at the race in Mexico City. I'll actually be in Berlin next week. So we have a race in Berlin on Saturday and Sunday. I believe it's the, should double check the dates, but it's not this weekend.
And so Avalanche has teamed up with Andretti.
Correct. So we were looking for us, as you've seen in the crypto space right now, there's a lot of sports marketing happening and marketing. And in talking with our CMO, Devin Ferreira, we were actually approached by some people to think about what we could do. And we were at a race one day and we were talking to the Andretti team, and they were like, they had options and opportunities, and they mentioned Formula E, and that really caught our attention. I don't think they were really looking to get a sponsor for Formula E at the time. It was BMW who was with them. But when they mentioned Formula E, it really clicked. It clicked for three reasons that we share. One, we believe, in the technology. The technology behind Formula E is fantastic, and we believe we're at the forefront of technological innovation in the blockchain industry. So on this topic of technology, there's an alignment there. Also, it's fast and it's racing, so there's speed. So we are the fastest chain in turn measured by time to finality. So we share the commonality of speed with racing and Formula E. And finally, and also most importantly, is sustainability. Right? Formula E is the next kind of level of racing. It's all electric. It's sustainable. It's green. And as I mentioned earlier, Avalanche prides itself as being one of the greenest, if not the greenest, chain. Actually, we are the greenest chain if you measure it by dollar secured or dollar transacted on the network. So with that metric and with that in mind, it made sense on speed, technology, and sustainability for us to align with Formula E as a sport. And the Andretti team, of course, has been fantastic partners, and we love working with them. And the opportunity was there, and we took advantage of it. Also, a final point, aside from those three great things, is that Formula E is a global sport, and it has a global presence. So it's not just about putting your logo on a car and being around the world, but to activate around it. So in Mexico City, in February when we were there, we did a 2-day boot camp, Blockchain 101, to introduce people to blockchain and what's blockchain about. And then also a parallel deeper dive into Avalanche for developers to come learn about Avalanche, meet people from the engineering team, meet myself from the BD team, meet others from the BD and marketing teams, and really interact with us, get to know us to get to know those communities and those localities. We'll be doing the same thing in about a week and a half in Berlin. So we're going to be doing an activation around the Formula E race in Berlin. We're taking over the Tempelhof Air Base. We're going to have Blockchain 101 courses for those that are curious about blockchain, that want to learn about blockchain, but also a parallel track for developers to come learn how to build on Avalanche, how to deploy on an EVM chain, how to deploy on a subnet for whatever use case they want to do. It's an opportunity for us to get to know our community.
Yeah.
But also work with developers in those different communities. So after Berlin, I believe.
That's great. And it's also a lot of fun. I know that
Seoul and everywhere else.
Mexico is on a racetrack, but Berlin is on the former airfield Tempelhof. Then I've been to Montreal as well as Zurich. Both are city races. So there, the Formula E goes through the city. really connecting with a lot of people. And I think there you doing the right thing to connect to the community. But you also spoke about all your products, and there I want to do kind of a lightning round with where you probably sum up the product in 1 or 2 sentences. So I go through all the products which you mentioned. I noted the most important down. So let's start with X-Chain. How would you describe X-Chain?
Super fast, super cheap Bitcoin.
Okay, then the P-Chain.
The administrator of the network.
Then we have the C-Chain.
Next level Ethereum.
Next level Ethereum. Sounds exciting. And then there are all the subnets.
App-specific chains. Build your own blockchain. Blockchain as a service.
And then on top of that, you mentioned the bridge and the wallet.
The bridge, your gateway to Avalanche from Ethereum, and the wallet, your dashboard into Web3.
The dashboard into Web3. I think with Web3 is also something which emerged, I think, in the last 12 months to become the key term. And it's all about creation and creating a vision of the future of what we can build here with Web3 and the decentralized finance ecosystem. Today, we are talking about the future of finance and how to empower the people. How would you describe the future of the industry around Avalanche, and what's on your roadmap?
So the way we're looking at things, let me take a step back. The way, at least on the business development side, we look at the kind of the ecosystem at large through several verticals. One being DeFi, the other being arts and culture or NFTs. Third being exchanges, wallets, and how people on and off ramp from the fiat world into the crypto world. Institutional and capital markets. So that's how traditional finance works with DeFi, that works with crypto, etc. And then enterprise, of course. That's the way we kind of break out the different groups. And then, of course, gaming. So those are the 6 groups that we see within the business development team that we really that we dedicate a lot of attention to. Where we kind of see this going, I think you're going to start to see new use cases really pop up that obstruct away the crypto. And what I mean by that is, I like to say that for as much as people in the crypto and blockchain space love to be all about inclusion and democratization of financial services and banking the unbanked and all these great things, these very worthy causes, there's still a somewhat level of elitism. And what I mean by that is there's a high floor, right? There's a high barrier of entry on the educational side for people to really engage in what we do on a daily basis, right? Setting up a wallet, seed phrase, buying crypto, sending crypto, using a MetaMask, using an exchange, all these things at a base layer are not easy to interact with. So the user experience, the user interface writ large for crypto in general is somewhat prohibitive. It's prohibitive for mass uses and mass adoption, right? Like whenever I talk to people or we do panels, right? I'm sure you've been asked this and everybody gets asked this question. How would you explain blockchain to your mother? My answer is that I would not, because there's no need to. And what I mean by that is, would my mom ask me how PayPal or Venmo or Zelle or any of these things work? No.
Yeah.
All they know is that it works. So where we go and what we're focusing on, I think, is getting to a point where we can start to do things that currently exist, whether in the financial system or the art scene or fundraising or whatever it may be. We need to be as fast, if not faster, as cheap, if not cheaper, and as easy, if not easier to use. If we don't have those 3 things, we're going to still be a niche industry that's growing slower than we can. So where I see really the growth coming from is companies like Avalanche. There's a lot of other great companies in the space that do this work to really abstract away the crypto complexity, right? Making things easier, right? So we've partnered with a great with a great platform called OP3N, that's building a mobile app for kind of a Web3 collectors community experience. So think Spotify, but with NFTs and with everything, so that people can buy an NFT on their phone, right? Debit, credit, balance. You don't need crypto to pay for gas, to go through that whole thing. So you abstract away the crypto side, you log onto this thing, you buy an NFT in the drop, and that NFT opens up for you access to an artist's music single a week before it goes public, an AMA with that artist. So where I see this going is, one, ease of use, whether it's tokens or NFTs or experiences, but two, I think building of communities and really new ways for artists to interact with their communities, potentially governments or politicians to interact with their constituents, and for companies to interact with their customers. But also, like I mentioned, the things that we haven't thought of yet, right? The new projects, right? Just like social media was, the kind of darling of Web 2. I don't think we've really found the killer apps for Web 3 yet. The things that bring on 1 billion people into blockchain and crypto. I think we're getting there. I think
absolutely,
those are coming, but I think we're still early.
I think you made a couple of very good points here in terms of explaining it to your parents or something like that. As we're talking, like the headline here of our talk is the Internet of Finance and the future of Internet of Finance. That's really the Web3 and the next level of like digital money and adoption of blockchain. And what you said is actually like all crypto players want blockchain to be a commodity to like fade away. Nobody should talk about crypto and blockchain anymore. It should just be there because nobody is explaining how the internet protocol is working or why Wi-Fi is working. It's just there. It's almost a human right to have Wi-Fi and internet connectivity. And so I do see and agree with you that blockchain and the Internet of Finance will also be a human right, and it will just be there. Nobody needs to understand how the blockchain, the Avalanche blockchain will work, but you probably have lots of benefits on why it will be competitive blockchain in the future and why it will just run in the background. And that's where we are. That's why I think everybody's talking about the early days now of Web3, because now everybody's focusing on the technology and how it goes. But I think in a decade or 2 decades, it will just work. So that's a key element. And then I think the last 20 minutes we have, I wanted to talk about these innovations. And you mentioned NFTs. So we've seen the emergence of kind of JPEGs or artwork being tokenized in NFTs and sold as non-fungible tokens, with the hype now around the Bored Ape Yacht Club, and now going into metaverses, selling land. Then there's the talk of the town, or talk of the industry is the next phase of NFTs, where we have like music NFTs, where there's not an artwork, but a music, an MP3 or some other rights associated with that. What we do and what we launched at LCX is asset-backed NFTs, which we called like real-world diamonds as NFTs with diamonds. So this was a major milestone for us to showcase it, and we are now going full speed on doing like more diamonds as NFTs. How do you see the NFT market? What's the latest movement at Avalanche, and what do you see is most exciting for the users out there?
So I agree with you. I think what you see at Avalanche is kind of the 3 ways we look at that we look at NFTs. There's the kind of community, or what we call headless art. That's the profile pictures. There's nobody in particular behind it or a company, but there's just the generative art, the PFPs. That's 1. 2, I think arts. I think you're going to see artists, big mainstream artists. I mean, I think in the crypto world, you have Beeple, of course, and everything. But if you talk to mainstream artists like a Murakami or a Kaz or any of the like contemporary artists, or even art galleries or fine art, there's a demand and a need to go digital, either for novel things that are digital or backing existing things, right? If you see a fine art piece, there's usually one of X amount by digitizing it and selling that out as well. But there's a climate component there, right? It needs to be sustainable, and until Ethereum 2 launches and it goes to proof of stake, it's still not as sustainable as it should be for a technology. And I think we have a benefit, of course, there. But the final thing we see, of course, is kind of digital collectibles, right? Licensed products. So Avalanche is partnered with Topps. So that's, we have baseball cards, right? Or Bundesliga or a bunch of other brands, right? So you're going to start to see, I think, Fortune 500 companies, movie studios, TV shows, art, to your point, artists, musicians. That's like the licensed products, right? That's IP that is now tokenized in an NFT and sold. But whether it's IP, art, or kind of the generative stuff, that's the way we look at it. And all of that is coming and brewing both on us and on other chains as well. But to your point, asset-backed NFTs, I think that's really where we're going to go. The way I look at NFTs in general is what is an NFT really? It's a certificate of authenticity, but on chain, right? That validates that you own this thing. That, the picture is not on chain. The picture is sitting in an IPFS database somewhere, right? But the NFT signifies your ownership of that. So, when people usually buy a handbag or a pair of shoes or a belt, it comes with a little piece of paper, certificate of authenticity, throw it in the trash. I think what you can start to see or hope to see, which would be exciting, is enterprises really interacting with their customers through NFTs. What I mean by that is, let's say you're going to buy your wife a very expensive handbag. That handbag has an NFT. You buy this handbag number 84 out of 500.
Yeah.
That color. With the handbag, you get the NFT. Then, okay, so that company knows who you are, right? They'll send you emails. They have your name. They have your address. They probably have your credit card. They send you stuff. They spam you with emails. They bother you all the time. But they have a channel of communication open. As we know, a lot of things sell in the secondary market. People sell handbags, they sell sneakers, they sell a million collectibles, right?
Yeah.
That chain of connectivity between the company and the customer is broken now. If I buy something from Adidas and I sell it to you, it's over.
Yeah.
But if I buy a pair of shoes from Adidas and I have an NFT that says, number 4,000 of 8,000, and then I sell it to you, well, Adidas now can track that NFT into your wallet and airdrop you an Adidas token, or they can airdrop you another NFT that allows you early access to the next drop or the next sale or whatever it may be. Now, some people might think, oh, well, they're tracking your wallet and they're looking after you. But
yeah, that's right. Yeah. I bought this little kitty here as a real figure, but it's actually connected to the NFT. So that this is just the printed NFT in a way as a collectible, but the authenticity and that it's not like a fake item can be proven with the NFT connection. And I think that's now Nike, Adidas is doing that with collectible sneakers. It will go in art, probably in your car, anywhere.
Exactly. Like and the most important thing here too is that people might say, oh, they're tracking wallets, but also it's enhancing privacy. These companies now know you by your name, your address, your email, your PII, right? Your personal identifying information. You can abstract that stuff away and it could be in a wallet. You now become a public wallet address. No one knows that it belongs to you, to me, to anybody, right? So it enhances privacy, but also enhances the ability for companies to reach out to people. But more so than that, I think ultimately, right, to the point back of how Zelle and PayPal work, nobody knows, nobody cares. The financial infrastructure, built on shares, I think, shares are still electronic and it takes days to settle. We're going to see that go digital. But also, I think documents, right, important documents, legal contracts, can become smart contracted. But, your college diploma, the deed to your house, a mortgage, all these things ultimately can just become NFTs, right?
Absolutely.
They're drafted, they're digitized, they live on chain, they're immutable, and it's over. And you can trade them.
You're already bridging to my next question, because I often say the future will be tokenized.
Yeah.
And everything that can be tokenized, represented in token, will be tokenized. Some makes more sense than others, but in any way, it will be done. And
Absolutely.
we've now at LCX, we've invested over 2.5 years to get all these registrations and regulations right, because a lot of the things you have been talking about here with deeds, actual rights to real estate or to a car or to other real life assets, there needs to be some rules. So we are a big supporter of like a regulatory framework, and we're happy to be in Liechtenstein, where we have a light regulatory framework, but a very holistic approach to the industry with the Blockchain Act, which regulates not only one piece of the puzzle, but the whole industry as a whole, from the token generation to price services to identity service provider and so on. So we have 8 of these registrations there and really can provide the whole value chain. And we believe in the future of security tokens and kind of asset-backed tokens, whether it's a security or not. But now we've launched Timons, and we have announced another tokenized bond with a yield-generating euro opportunity. So you can buy in and get 7% yield there. But it's not like staking or something. It's a financial product, and I think a lot of these exchanges will come in under pressure because they're doing it in a gray zone or hiding behind some terms and conditions. But here we are going all in basically to get it done right. What's your view on this balance between regulation and innovation, and where do you see the industry will move to?
So I think ultimately regulation will catch up. It always does. It's not proactive. It's always reactionary. But in the interim, I think the existing structures that exist are fine. And what I mean by that is everyone always talks about we're waiting for regulation. We need regulation. That might be on the crypto native side, right? But when you're dealing with things that you mentioned, asset-backed tokens, tokens that represent securities or equities or real estate or whatever it may be, the regulation is there. The rules are set, right? So in a previous role, I'd met with at Token Vault. We actually did a security token offering, and we went and we met with the SEC, and they were like, "Oh, you guys had a token," and we're like, "Yep." And then they looked at everything we did, and they said, "Oh, you have a private placement memorandum. You registered with the SEC. You did all the things that a security would do." We're like, "Well, we're security." And they said, "So if we took the word share and replaced it with token, this is no different than any other private placement or private offer." Exactly. So the point is, the rules for the established financial system are there. We can make it faster or cheaper, more accessible with tokenization. And then I think once we do that, the problem, I think, in an established system, so the crypto native system is new, right? So we are like innovating like crazy on that side of the world. Regulation will catch up. Yeah. I think on the regulated side, to really bring in traditional finance or big players and the billions, if not trillions of dollars locked in, different assets, to bring that on chain. The existing regulatory framework exists, and you can work within it. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, because what we're trying to do is first show that it's the same, that we can work. So on that side of the world, you work within the framework that exists, and you show that you can. And then from within that system, you innovate, right? Within that system, you push for new regulation, or you push the boundaries from within it. So that's what I mean, right? There's like this excitement that we see, and we're still so early that on one side, you have all the crazy innovation. On the other side, you're working from within the system. And hopefully these two kind of different sides meet, and hopefully they meet on the side closer to innovation and where we should go. And I think ultimately the regulators will either catch up or adapt, because it's in their interest to do so.
It is in their interest. And I think it's the balance between innovation and regulation in that Internet of Finance, because I think at the moment we are still in a niche, and the whole crypto and blockchain industry will go global, meaning like billions of users. And to make that happen, it needs to be acceptable. It needs to like play with the rules, but too much regulation is also not good, because it will like destroy innovation. So that's why I think the whole players is trying to get it right. At LCX, we invested a lot in getting it right. We developed also the Liechtenstein protocol to be on-chain enforceable blockchain protocol where we can do on-chain compliance basically and enforce certain transactions being happen or not. So I think this is something which is needed to be accepted in as a financial asset or a financial instrument. But in between, there's so much innovation, which is exciting to see. What are the most exciting areas which you need to fill? Like if you have now the opportunity to talk to the community out there and say like, what's the low-hanging fruit on Avalanche, would say like, why didn't somebody do it yet? What is the biggest opportunity at the moment? What somebody could start developing now and pitch you tomorrow?
I think our NFT ecosystem could be bigger, it could be better, it could be stronger, and I think it needs a little more tooling, more creators, more developers, more fun products. So always looking to build that, but anything, to be frank, I mean, any new DeFi protocol, anything that's innovative, by all means, we're excited to look at, we're excited to support, want to really push on the NFT side, of course, on the creators, on new use cases for NFTs, of course. So, yeah.
And now I'm just looking at a couple of questions here from the community. And so there's a question related to that from Tim Khan, like how can the community support that growth and support the Avalanche community even better?
I would, use the protocol, teach not just Avalanche, right? I mean, of course, we want the support, but I think for Avalanche to succeed, we need the entire industry to succeed.
Yeah.
Right? Like there is no zero sum here. There is no one chain that's going to win, and etc. I think we all need to win at some level. For some of us to win more, we all support each other in some way or another. So the best way to support Avalanche is to support, crypto and blockchain technology, and to tell people that don't use it to use it, and to have them try it and to educate them. I think for all of us, whether it's Avalanche or LCX or the Ethereum community or the Bitcoin community, for everybody, it's to really, in a cooperative and supportive way, educate everybody we know about this industry and the potential and the current use cases and the potential use cases, so that the more people we get in, the more we all benefit.
And let's take another question here. Is there something special you wish for the crypto market to happen?
Something special for the market to happen. I mean, all markets are kind of in turmoil right now. They're kind of upside down. I think a little bit of stability would be nice. What I would wish is, honestly, for I think more than anything, is for there to be more education. I say that, I'll keep saying it. I think universities need more classes on this. I think high schools should be doing a class about this and teaching people. This is a new technology, right? It's a new technology that's going to be transformative for years and decades to come. And I think what this entire industry and market is lacking is the education to get people to understand what it is, that it's not just tokens on the internet that are, internet funny money or whatever certain critics call. I think what I wish is for people that are critics to really learn what the technology underpinning all of this is really all about. Because I don't think there would be critics if they knew about it properly.
Yeah. And now, like, if you look at, as we close this up here, this exciting session about the Internet of Finance to empower people, what is your key takeaway, which aware now about the crypto market as a whole, and like what you got into, what you didn't know when you started in September 2020? Like, what was the aha moment, or like something you would tell your younger self?
Learn more, read more. As much as you think you know, you don't. I think that's what's exciting. I think the thing that I would tell myself is to go learn more on the engineering side. right? I'm on the business side.
Mhm.
I work with people, and I represent technology. So I think understanding the technology even better is great. And I think for myself, and then on the flip side, right? I think blockchain is so interdisciplinary that people within it need to have interdisciplinary backgrounds as well. Someone on the business side like me should understand the technology or engineering a little bit more. I can always know more. I don't have to be an expert in it, but know more. And I think engineers can also start to learn how the products they build have an impact on the business side, on the marketing side, because it allows them to build better products, right? So I would just tell myself to go learn more, because as much as I like to think that I know, I still don't know a whole lot. And I think all of us are in that same boat.
Yeah. And what keeps you up at night, and what motivates you to take your goals into reality?
Work keeps me up at night, because this is a 24/7, 365
Crypto never sleeps. Yeah.
industry. And I usually wake up early because I deal with a lot of people on the East Coast in the US, but then late evenings are usually Europe, of course, and Asia. So that's what keeps me up at night.
Yeah.
But also the fact that you can always do more, right? There's never kind of well, that's banking hours, time to go home, or that's this or that. There's always more you can do. There's more partners you can talk to. There's more projects you can engage with. There's more ideas that you can come up with. So there's an excitement and an enthusiasm of being in this space and working at Avalanche and working on Avalanche, and the amazing community that we have is just always it's always interacting with them. So that's kind of what keeps me up at night, and kind of what I wish for in the community or in this industry. Like I said, right, is more education, more adoption, more cooperation. Yeah.
Perfect. John, this was so exciting to learn all the details about the product, about what you're planning for at Avalanche. So I think this was, for the LCX community, very, very exciting to learn. And I, again, felt, it's the most exciting time to be alive. We are changing the future as it is. It's like the invention of electricity back. So the bells or the Edisons are now out there alive. You can talk to them. They're inventors. And I think you're a part of this innovation ecosystem. I'm excited to have you here on the show. Thanks for making time. And then we'll keep in touch. John.
Thank you, Monty. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure. Appreciate it.
This is LCX Insights Live. For more insights, please visit lcx.com/insights and follow us on Twitter @LCX. Onwards and upwards.